everybody. Welcome to When Love Interrupts. I'm Charity. We have two special guests today. One is a special guest co-host, Travis Smith, who was actually our first guest on our first episode. And we have Derek Webb. You know him from everywhere. He's put out music, a lot of music that I love, from You Were in Caedmon's Call, that you've gone on your own. And we are so excited to have you here because there's just so much I know that's been plaguing me and Travis. We've talked about it some, that we just are so excited to discuss.
I'm so excited to be here.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
And I know we're gonna jump into this, but your last album is amazing.
Oh my gosh!
Just
thank you so much for listening.
The work you did and the encouragement that came out of that. I know for so many people. So
wow, I really appreciate you. Yeah, saying so. Thank you.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I've had a hard time listening to it without just crying like the whole time.
Yeah.
Well, and, it's so beautiful. Yeah. So do you want to tell us a little bit about it? Where you, Yeah,
I'd be happy to. So, I mean, I'm complicated. You know, I have been doing this job, writing songs and playing music and whatever for a long time. I'm short, so I look young, but I've been doing this job for a long time. This is like if you count my 10 years in Caedmon's, we started our band in 92. So that's like 30 some odd years, like a lot. And 25-ish of those I have been a solo artist and just kind of doing my own records or whatever. I don't think I've ever made two records that were alike in almost any way, but this new record, it was definitely a surprise to me, and it came on really fast. I'll very briefly kind of tell you that story, but the way that it's easiest for me to frame it is that, and if there are creative people who are listening, maybe you will relate to this a little bit, but I've always seen it, or I've always liked the idea of the job description for a creative person is to look at the world and describe it. Look at the world, tell us what you see, that's the job. And that's always the way I've kind of approached my songwriting and whatever I'm doing. And because it implies that there's gonna be an evolution over time. Like you could stand in the same place and the world's gonna have changed, you're gonna have changed, and so you're gonna describe it differently. And you get to kind of come into new information and you get to grow and evolve and learn, and that's a good thing. And anyways, so for me, that's always kind of been the MO. And but in the last few years, 2024, 2020, beginning 2025 especially, I just got to a point where I had no idea how to describe the world that I was looking at. I just did not know what to say about it. And I really wanted to. I really wanted to contribute. Like it's what I do in my work, and it is the way that I can commentate and contribute. And so I really wanted to. I'm familiar with the language of protest music. I've written a handful of protest songs in my career, but I didn't even know where to start with that. I didn't even know what to protest like first. And the way it felt, talking to a lot of friends around in Nashville where we live, is it just felt like every direction you look, the world is just on fire.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, you want to run and you want to help, but when everything's on fire, you're paralyzed because you don't even know what direction to run in. You don't even know how to help first. So it was kind of paralyzing, and I didn't know how to do my job. I was having a hard time, and it was frustrating. But if you look long enough, everybody will realize, and it'll be personal and different for every single person. But for you, there will be one fire that is taller than all the rest. And that is the one for you personally that you might need to do something about first. You need to bring the tallest fire down so that you can see around and get around it to everything else. But everybody will have something that is the most deeply personal and immediate for them. For me, as soon as I got clarity about how to look at this and how to figure this out, I knew exactly what it was. And that was the thing that needed the most urgent addressing. The biggest emergency in my immediate life, personal life, was the world that my queer and trans friends and family members, loved ones, were being forced to live in 2025, and how impossible that feels, and increasingly impossible, and narrow, and it's squeezing. And I am a straight ally. I mean, I'm a gender straight man. And so I am an ally to this fight. I don't lead in this. It's not inherent to my story, but it is one deeply personal because of my loved ones, my family members, my community, my friends that I do walk with actively. And so I decided I needed to contribute soundtrack. There were not enough. I was not finding enough music that was empowering, encouraging language and soundtrack for queer and trans folks, especially queer and trans youth, who I think are the most in danger and at risk. And so I thought, well, that's what I can contribute. And as soon as I got clear about what I could do and what I wanted to try and do, it all happened so fast. Like I went beginning of February, I had no songs and no ideas. By the end of February, 3 weeks later, by the time I not only had written the entire album, but I'd recorded it. And so I wrote the whole album in about 2.5 weeks. I recorded it in about 2.5 days.
Okay.
Because it's like my body responded.
Yeah.
And I knew it was an emergency. I knew what I had to do. I knew what I could do. And I started working immediately. And then we just put it out as quick as we could. I got on the road as quick as I could. So that's kind of how we got here. Survival Songs is that album. And that's kind of that's how we got here.
Wow. That's amazing, because I'm a huge ally. And I feel like when I went through my deconstruction several years back, funnily enough, it was your music and Flamey Grant and Similar and all these people, and Trey Pearson. It was these people, the ones that I grew up already loving.
Yeah.
And I saw a little bit of light still there, you know? And so it's funny that even though you say the same thing, you're an ally, but it's like, even to me, it spoke on such a deep level of exactly how I felt, like, you know?
Yeah.
And especially with my trans friends as well, you know, because it is, I'm up for a fight. I'm ready for it.
Yeah. Well, and it's like, if somebody, I don't wish for there to be lines drawn, but if people are going to draw lines, I want to be very clear where I stand.
Me too.
And I want to be inherently thrown in on that side of the fight, and which is among many other reasons why I keep my nails polished and other things. Like, I want to stand in solidarity. I want you to treat me exactly how you're going to treat the people who I love in my life, care the most about. So let's make no mistake about that, regardless.
Well, sort of like when you famously wore the dress, you know, to the Dove Awards, like, you know, that was.
Yeah. I mean, it's solidarity. It's like standing in solidarity.
Yes, it was. And to see that, I worked in Christian music or Christian radio for a decade, and then quit. And then I actually went back for a little bit, and I quit again because literally I had been there back for like a month, and then the Michael Tate stuff comes out, you know, and I'm just like, I'm done. This is not. And I also wanted to make sure that whatever platform I had and that I could use, I'm not going to be like, I don't want to be censored on what I'm going to say.
Right.
Because I'm done with that.
Whatever needs to be said. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
And Christian music has always been, and was for me for many years. I mean, I pushed in the ways that I could, but like even it was very narrow and very limiting and very restricting, because it only rewards certain subject matter. And so it's hard. And there are some things that are just downright off limits. And you just, you know, in order to say, you literally have to detach and say from outside. You can't say it from inside.
Exactly.
Some things. So I get it.
Yeah. And also Jesus Hypothesis. Sorry, Travis. I'm going to let you speak. I promise. That was the actual album too.
Wow.
I
appreciate you. Yeah. When you do this job and you do it indie, and you've been doing it for a really long time, and so you're not like new on the scene, and so there's nothing exciting about you remotely anymore, and hasn't been for decades.
Stop it.
It's really true though. It's how it feels. And it's so, you're so grateful that anyone even hears about it. Like that. I mean, because you know, we're dealing with algorithms, we're dealing with attention currency, we're dealing with all these things.
Absolutely.
Really hard. So I'm very deeply grateful that
I'm so glad.
Finds the music and listens to it, and it means anything. So thank you for that.
It deeply did. So yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Travis, would you like to ask something?
Well, you know, this is wonderful. I'm enjoying just being the person who gets to witness this conversation. But kind of along with that, one thing I was hearing in this album over and over is I'm imagining at this point you've had some people reach out to you and start to tell you their story. Is there any particular story that you can share safely that you feel like this music has made a difference and saved lives?
Wow. Well, that's kind of you to say, and I hope that that's true. What's interesting is like I have been kind of steadily and quietly, and not really quietly, not always quietly, but I have been, this subject matter has been important to me for a long time. It's been important for a long time. And so I'm thinking even back to the Stockholm Syndrome record, which came out in like 2009 or something.
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly, but and, even on that record, there was a song called What Matters More, and I got in some trouble for it, got censored off the album by the label. And it was directly about the church's treatment of the gay community, even back in 2009. And standing with my friends as an ally, even back then.
Yeah.
And then little by little, and Jesus Hypothesis dealt a lot with it too. And Boys Will Be Girls on that on that record, and the video that Flamey and I made together for that, and which did lead right into kind of our trip to the Devil Wards and all that. But I mean, what's interesting is I feel like I have heard probably more stories standing and being around my friends who have worked in this space for longer, that encourages me in terms of the impact that you hope that it has. Like, for one thing, Jen Knapp is a friend and has been a friend for decades. We've been together for just super long time, and we've worked a lot together. We've played a lot of shows together, and we've hung out a lot. And I remember when Jen, Jen was really big when Caedmon's was kind of at our peak, and we were kind of doing a lot of things at the same time. A lot of festivals were putting us on stages together all the time. And I remember when Jen kind of disappeared, like she realized, and I don't mind. Jen is a good enough friend that I don't think she would mind me drawing this contrast right now. But like, I think about the Michael Tate situation, and I think about my friend Jen Knapp, who it's almost like a parallel journey, but done right and done in a healthy way. Because Jen got to a point where she was very famous. And was figuring herself out, figuring out her identity, figuring out who she was. And at that time, I think she would tell you that she didn't really know a lot of that up until a certain point, but then realized she was in a precarious place because she was very famous in an industry that she feared would reject her completely if they knew about her, some of the things that she thought she was maybe discovering about herself at that time. And rather than try to stay there and stay in that job and take that money and have to go into like a hiding and crack her personality into pieces, which is a very unhealthy thing to do. Rather than do all that, she left. Like she like Irish goodbye. Like she didn't even tell her band she was leaving. She moved out of the country for almost 10 years. She left until she had gathered herself together. She knew who she was. She did the hard work, and she came back. She moved back to Nashville from Australia, where she'd lived for like 8, almost 9 years. And in the first week she was back, she and I were having a meal. We were talking about how can I help? What can I do? Are you going to get back into music? Like, and I had just done the Stockholm Syndrome record, and I had people reach out to me and tell me that even though I was just a straight ally, and it was just the one song, and it wasn't that, but I had done some press. It was some I'd done some queer press, like I forget who all I talked to, but there was a handful of magazines and some folks who wanted to talk to me about that song and about, because it was just odd, like anybody from remotely around Christian music to get in trouble for a song about the church's treatment of the gay community was unusual. And I got some feedback on that, some people saying like how much that meant to them, that somebody was in the space just saying, I remember in some of those interviews I was doing, like just as though they needed this permission, but giving them permission to exist in the world, because their whole lives they had been told, you cannot be the following things at the same time simultaneously. You cannot be a person who, now here's the thing, when it comes to the spirituality side of this, I don't really have a dog in the fight at this point. And so I'm not really making a commentary on that, but at the time I was very much an evangelical believer, and that's a lot of who was still kind of listening. And so it was a conundrum though for people who were basically like, they had people telling them, you cannot be, for instance, an evangelical Christian and also be queer or trans or bisexual, or you cannot be those things at the same time. It's not possible. It's like you're like a unicorn. You don't exist.
Yeah.
And yet here they were. And when Jen showed back up and she decided she was going to move back into music, she was going to step back into the public. There's my dog is always a feature. On
oh, that's great.
Yeah, not already.
that's Etta James. But anyway, so and she decided she was going to do that because she felt as though Etta, because she felt as though that representation was really important. Because I was communicating with her like, listen, I couldn't have remotely the impact that you could have.
Yeah.
And there's no burden on you to do it. You can absolutely, you do not. I'm so sorry about the dog.
Stop. You're fine.
Good.
It doesn't bother you.
Yeah. You don't have to do this. You can do whatever you want. You don't have to do it. But if you did, I'm just telling you, like, even the tiny little bit that I have tiptoed into this space, the gratitude that has come to me has been so overwhelming in terms of like the detractors and the people who want to give you negativity about it, like predictably, of course, but the people who show up and say like, you're the first person who I've ever seen in public say it was possible for me to be a Christian and gay, that's possible. And like, I literally was told that I was not possible. And so I must be confused about one or the other because it's just, well, you can't be, they don't. And I was like, and I was just encouraging her that if you want to go that way, I just think it would make a huge impact. And she has done such, I've stood next to her and watched so many people, say these things. And I love the way she would always say, like, listen, I am not here to make a theological argument and try to justify anything to you or make sense of anything that you have some hang up about when it comes to the Bible and queerness or whatever. Yeah. What I'm here to say is, if you're saying I cannot be all the things that I in fact am in one place, I am here in my physical body as an affront to that notion, because here I am and I am all those things.
Yep.
So, I mean, I'm not here to like argue theologically. I'm here to just physically represent that you're wrong about the fact that those things can't all go together.
Exactly.
They absolutely can, because they do, because here I am.
Exactly. Yeah.
And what that has meant to people. I've watched Flamey Grant do it, and the space that she takes up. And so I feel like all of the unbelievable sweet stories that I have seen and people deeply affected are like, but when Flamey and I toured together in the last few years, the line of people lined up in front of her to cry a little bit and to shake her hand and to get a picture because of what she has made stories. That for me, when it came time to decide, like, okay, I think I need to take this step. I need to make this record. And I already know like all the predictable places where all the pushback's going to come from. Yes. But I knew, of course, it is so much more than worth what you deal with, knowing what it does mean to folks who have been living just in the absolute wilderness, and being told, and just being marginalized and being told that they don't belong and being told that they don't exist and being told. So, So, I mean, I have stories, but most of the thing, when I hear you ask the question, most of what I think about are looking at the lines of people standing in front of my friends who have been in this space a lot longer than I have, Yeah.
That's really funny, because even though I was actually supposed to come to the End of Days tour, I got COVID, got diagnosed like 2 days prior. Yeah. But you guys were amazing and still sent me my shirt, and I was so happy. And I am coming to see you in August also.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I can't wait. But I remember telling my mom, I grew up very fundamentalist, Pentecostal, in deep purity culture and everything like that. And I told my mom, I was like, all I want to do is to just walk up to Flamey Grant and just hold her and her hold me and let me cry, because that's deep, like what I need. It's like that, I don't know. So it's just, it's so beautiful. And so, that
nobody gives a hug like Flamey Grant. Let me just tell you.
Oh my God.
She is like the biggest presence in any room that she's in before she even starts singing. I mean,
exactly.
So you need to have that hug at some point. I'm just telling you.
Yes. I'm gonna bet.
But isn't that how it often is? The people who've been through the most, who've had to endure, things that are unimaginable being said to them, they are the most compassionate, kind, and loving
Yeah.
because they understand what it's like to be in those places of despair.
Yeah. Yep. That's right. That's right.
It's
That's
so
right.
true.
And I think that, you know, and this comes up even in the songs on the new record. It has come up a handful of times for me over the years, but like I have no doubt about the fact that like many times the hardest things we go through in our lives that we think we are not going to be able to survive, or we feel like we barely survive, those things can become gifts that we can give to other people when we see them where we were. And we see someone in the midst of something we've been through, but we've survived it. And we can stand in front of them and say, here I am. And if I can get through this, you can. I'm proof that you can survive if you're feeling like you're not sure. And so it really does. It's true. And I think that is what it takes. And I think that is the gift that you can give to people.
Yeah. Which is exactly why I started this podcast.
Yes.
I just wanted to literally open up a platform for anyone to come on and tell their truth and talk about, you know, their hurt and what they've gone through in their journey. Had a conversation with my dad a few weeks ago, and it didn't go well. He's not. I was having to explain the podcast I was starting, and he's only ever known me work in Christian radio. So it was very But when we were having this conversation, he was just not listening. He was not even trying to like hear me and stuff. And I just like broke down, and I was telling him I was going to be having some LGBTQ people, you know, people on my show, and that he was just going to have to accept it and deal with it. And then he just got really mad. And I told him, he was like, Charity, that's an abomination, you know? And I looked at him and I was just like, well, Dad, I said, those abominations, they have been there for me. And I have been embraced into this world like I've never felt before, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
For who I am. Yeah, because I'm different. I'm not like a normal, you know, I'm not cookie cutter. I am very different when it comes. I was at the metal shows growing up, you know what I mean? And so, but when he said that, that's the first time I'd heard that word used for that in so long.
Yeah.
And I was just appalled that it's even just still so prevalent.
Yeah. I mean, and you know what's kind of it tends to be still kind of fascinating to me is that, you know, even like the very Bible that evangelicals hold in such high regard will tell you, and it's really hard to get around this as a general concept about salvation or about you know, the indwelling of the Spirit or whatever, however you want to say it, is it, you know, it like look at what the Bible says about the evidence of real change and real spiritual inhabit, like real saving faith, as they say. The proof of it, the evidence you can look at, is the fruit that is hanging on the branches, fruit on the tree. It shows evidence of what is buried in the ground. So the thing that is claimed, but that you cannot see, that is invisible under the ground, you see the evidence of it clearly hanging on the branch. And for me, it's funny how like fruits of the Spirit, like that's exactly what I'm looking for when I'm having conversation, when I'm looking for community with friends, what I'm hoping to express in my own life. And also when I am listening to my evangelical friends and the posture and the way, the tone of how they talk about certain things, I'm like, you know what? Like, I hear you claiming, you know, righteousness and faith and spirituality and union with God. I hear you claiming all that, but let me tell you the fruit that is hanging on the branches that you can't do anything about it. You can't hide it from me.
No, you
good or
cannot.
bad, you cannot hide it from me. I'm seeing bigotry. I'm seeing racism. I'm seeing homophobia. I'm seeing combative aggression. I'm seeing, it's like, those are not the fruits of the Spirit, bro. Like, that does not tell me that you have found something life-changing. You seem like you're acting right out of a heart very predictably, and I feel like I see your heart very clearly. You're showing it to me very clearly.
Yeah.
In my neighborhood, online, whatever.
Yes, exactly.
And then there are, as you said, my friends like Flamey Grant, and my friends like Jen, and my friends like Grace Baldridge Similar, and a lot of my friends who I think of, and who are the most patient and kind and loving and long-suffering.
Yep.
And, I mean, like people I've ever met in my life. And they are loved in such a way that is evident in the way it's reciprocated, because that is how they are and who they are.
Exactly.
And the fruit hanging on those branches is so clear to me. And so I can see exactly what's buried in the ground with them too. And it's like your Bible will instruct you on what the evidence is to see if people are who they say they are.
Yes.
And I would instruct Christians and non-Christians alike to use that bit of that criteria to not judge, but to like get a sense of who somebody is. I've often said to people, like, especially when I was going through my what you might call deconstruction or whatever it is, the pulling of the thread on the presumptions I had about spiritual reality for many decades. And as I was going through that, people would want to talk to me about different things. And, you get like those endless coffee dates that people want to book with you. Like all your pastor friends want to have the coffee with you.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah.
And so, and it's like, if whatever you are, this was my criteria, and it still is, whatever you are, whatever your opinions are. I don't love using the language of belief anymore. I think that's like kind of dangerous language in terms of like, you get out of the critical thinking and you get more into like plant the flag, defend the castle when you're believing a thing.
Yeah.
We need to be careful and be less precious about spirituality. Just because you believe something does not make it especially true or objectively true. What you're telling me is your opinions. These are your opinions about the Bible, or your opinions about things you cannot see, like God, things you cannot know, like the future. You have opinions. I have opinions about those things. You cannot be certain. Uncertainty is your only option when it comes to things you cannot see and that you cannot know. And so we are uncertain, which is the prerequisite of faith, not the enemy of faith. So there's no problem with that. I mean, every evangelical should be uncertain about things they cannot see and cannot know. There's where your faith comes in. It's the bridge across your uncertainty, but you have to have it. And so when my friends would come to me and they'd want to talk to me about whatever it was, what I would say to them is like, listen, whatever your opinions are about invisible reality, whatever your opinions are, if they are making you more kind and loving and radically welcoming and accepting and patient, if this is the evidence of your opinions in your life, tell me everything I want to know. I can't wait. I want to spend all day. I want to know everything.
Yes.
If the evidence of your opinions about all that same stuff is making you hateful and combative and bigoted and racist and homophobic, you know what? I just don't care. I don't want to hear. Like, don't pitch me. You don't know that you've already pitched me and I'm already not interested. I see it in your behavior, one way or the other. And the people I gravitate to are the ones who have the fruits of the Spirit. Weirdly. That's still important. And anyways, I don't even know. I'm on a rant.
That was perfect, because it's accurate.
Yeah. One thing I love about what you were kind of riffing on there that was just great is about allowing mystery to be a part of our life.
Of course.
And how powerful that is.
Yeah.
There's questions, but mystery is so powerful.
You have to leave the margin for the things that are too impossible or big or like for you to possibly know. Like you have to leave some margin. You can't, like, systematic theology and has done us a real disservice in that it tends to advertise to tidy all that up into really tight, like all the ducks in the rows and about every, it's systematic and it's like you start with, what do we believe about this? And that touches these things. And we've got it all sorted out. We've got it all tightened up and all the ends are tied. And it's like that. You're like, no, I don't know that I'm particularly interested in worshiping a God that I can understand.
Charity here, just jumping in really quick to tell you about our amazing sponsor, Blue Ridge Hope. Whether you are facing depression, anxiety, maybe you're going through grief, just feeling alone, they would love for you to give them a call because they want to be there for you. They offer affordable mental health counseling, youth mentorships, and community programs that, this is the best part, are all regardless of whether you can pay or not. So if you would like to check them out, head over to blueridgehope.org, or you can call them 828-202-3000 888-888-7575. Thank you again so much to Blue Ridge Hope. Now back to the show.
One of the things I thought is a folk singer by the name of Iris DeMent
Oh,
has a beautiful song called "Let the Mystery Be." And I absolutely love that song.
yeah.
I think it speaks to a lot of my own kind
Mhm.
of journey and where I am today. Is just allowing mystery to be what it is.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that can be
Absolutely.
powerful in itself. And something you said, Derek, that really kind of rang true for me is when we have a God that we can understand, then it sounds like we have made God in our image
Mm.
Right.
because
Yeah,
we can understand that God.
You can figure
Yeah.
the whole thing out. That means you've been able to relate one-to-one
Yes.
every single thing about the character of this thing that you're talking about. And when
Yeah.
you can do that, it's fun. It must be fundamentally like you. And
Yeah.
and so, but if there's parts of it that you're like, just like there are parts of the human brain, there are parts of
Mhm.
the galaxy and the universe that we cannot possibly understand or fathom.
No.
Both our brains and the galaxy, which are actually very similar to each other. But that's what holds them in the proper
Yeah.
space to where you have to be a little bit in awe,
Yes.
Mhm.
but your awe really only goes as far as your inability to comprehend. I mean, I don't remember if it was Charles Spurgeon or Jonathan Edwards, maybe Charles Spurgeon, who said that like whenever he would come to a place in the Bible, like something that he would read that he could not understand, he would make a little metaphorically, he would make a little altar there, and that's where he would worship.
Oh.
And it's like, because that tends, and what I like about that language is it's really only in those margins
Mhm.
where the mystery remains, that we have
Yeah.
not eat that mystery out of our spiritual worldviews in an effort to control our lives, control our spiritual lives, control our neighbors, and control our neighbors and our children's behaviors and things like that. It's where we leave that gap and that space is where there is even room to acknowledge something that is other than and outside of and bigger than us.
Yes.
Absolutely.
That becomes spirituality. Anything
Yeah.
else is, I don't know what it is. It's philosophy at best, and it's
Yes, it is. Well,
anime at worst or whatever.
Firmly used to believe too, and it's so crazy that if I did not have every single answer, I was going to hell.
Right.
Like my brain would think that, and I am kind of like, what in the world?
Well, I remember like being in youth groups and having people tell me like, if you don't have a ready answer, about every little thing, somebody, and if you don't have it, then what does that say? Like, what are you talking? You're putting all your, but it's I think if we could manage to retain some of that, it would give us the real estate to navigate and negotiate some of the things that we have really fumbled with over the years, which tends to be, for instance, way back to 2009 again, like the church's treatment of the gay community. It's like the church does that poorly in public, mostly because there is not room.
No.
They want everything so tidy and tight and rigid that they want to have a ready answer on that. And it's just, that's simple. That's an abomination, piece of cake.
Yeah.
And but at the same time, they'll protect and hide for 20 years people like Tate, and so it is. It's just kind of like, what are we doing?
Absolutely.
What I find so interesting for me about someone who wants to come along and say to our gay and lesbian brothers and sisters that you're abomination is they hold something so true that Jesus never talks about.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, but show it to me in the red letters.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the last time I checked, Christianity kind of hangs its hat on Jesus.
Yep.
Yes.
So let's talk really about what Jesus talked about, which was feeding poor people, caring for those who are being mistreated or marginalized or the stranger. Right. Let's talk about that. But no. Instead, let's talk about something Jesus doesn't even mention. Which seems very interesting to me.
And it's a hallmark of Christian, kind of hermeneutics and interpretation and stuff, to say that the explicit stuff in the Bible interprets the implicit stuff. So the stuff that is kind of, I can't tell what it's saying. You interpret that by looking at the stuff that's very clear in what it says. And as you just said, if you're looking at, it's named after him. So if Jesus tends to be the thing that you're mainly wanting to look at and you're wanting to kind of model your life and behavior after, here's a guy who was extremely anti-empire, for one thing.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
and all the trouble he got into because he stood with and lived with and loved the marginalized.
Marginalized, exactly.
So people in modern culture, because they don't like the implications
Yes.
of Jesus's actual life, and that's why dead men make such convenient heroes. They don't like it, and so they will say, "Oh, well, no, but it's you start bringing up language like that, standing with the marginalized,
Absolutely, yes.
or you start saying that, and people will say, "Well, no, but it's complicated because it's different now, and it's all real complicated." Where it's really not. Here's how simple it is if you want to know where Jesus would be and what Jesus would be doing, what kind of trouble Jesus would be in, he was always in some kind.
Yep.
What would it be and where would it be? It's easy. One question: where are the marginalized? Where are people being marginalized? Who are those people?
Yep.
Right now, it's the queer community, it's immigrants,
Absolutely.
it's women, it's people of color.
Absolutely.
And so it's easy to see where Jesus would be hanging out and what kind of trouble.
Oh,
I mean, he literally risked his reputation. He was willing for his reputation to be completely ruined by standing with, living with, and loving complicated, the people who empire, especially in the first century, saw as the most complex people in culture and therefore marginalized. And that's exactly who Jesus spent all his time with. And that's easy.
It's so easy. And
It should be easy.
let's just be honest. Most evangelical Christians and conservative Christians would hate Jesus if he were here right now.
Yeah, I mean, if he showed up in an evangelical church in most cities in the United States, ICE would be there within a half an hour.
That's what I mean.
Haul him out.
That's what I mean.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Literally. Yeah. Well,
what I also find so interesting too with that is that even those who want to maybe hang their hat on Pauline literature or Pauline theology, when you get into the first century of Christianity, all of them were anti-empire.
Yeah.
There was no one in first century, second century Christianity for that matter, that would have been pro-empire.
Right. And so that's a great indicator of like, where do we stand in relation to these things and those things and all and really what it is, it's so interesting to me. Maybe it took being on the outside of it to see it a little more clearly. But like, it's crazy how, the church just seems to be so predictably drawn in by power. That's what it is. I mean, the system in the world of politics is about getting and maintaining and hoarding power. That's what it is. It's the power business. I mean, you're in the re-election business, and which is to say continued perpetual access to power. And the church is so drawn in by that.
Absolutely.
That like suddenly we just find ourselves playing by those rules and playing with those people and wanting to align with and stand close to those people. And Jesus was the opposite.
No, exactly. I heard you say, I don't remember if it was in an interview or where, but I loved it so much, where you said that anytime you put the term Christian on anything that's not a human, it's marketing, and it is. It's business. That's what it is.
Christian, when applied to anything other than a human being, is a marketing term,
and that is.
And it's really true, and it's not even a dig. It's actually like marketing terms are super helpful. They're categories that we use to find things in culture that we wish to consume. That's what marketing is. It's no problem. It's fine to say something is, but the problem with Christian, with that particular marketing category, as opposed to almost any other, is there are hardly any other marketing categories, especially musical genre categories for sure, that I can think of that represent a specific worldview, way of seeing the world, religious view of the world. And it just cannot mean, when applied to anything other than people, what it means when you apply it to people. Because presumably when you say someone is a Christian person, or if you yourself, you say you are a Christian person, what that tends to mean is this is a person who follows a certain way, who is a believer in Jesus, and therefore will be in heaven, going to heaven, as opposed to the people who are not, who will not be going there. Okay, well, that tends to be the distinction. That cannot mean that Christian music will be the only, the music you hear on your local Christian radio station will be the only music playing in heaven. That Christian, all the contents of Christian retail stores will be the only clothes and t-shirts and breath mints that we will have in heaven or whatever. And just because someone has rubber stamped it as Christian in order to advertise it to Christian people to come and buy, to consume it, just because it's been rubber stamped does not mean it's right, true, good, beautiful, redeemed, inherently.
No.
Those things. And I think the reason I harped on that so much over the years is because I've spent a lot of time in Christian music at very least, and in Christian culture, and where the sausage is made here in Nashville. And it's like, what I realized is like, I am, and we are just as likely to lie to you as anybody else.
Yeah.
Even though what we are making is called Christian a lot of the time. And it's being played on a radio station where they say, this is music and content that is safe for the whole family. Everything in our Christian bookstore has been vetted for your spiritual nourishment. Come in and put your powers of discernment aside and consume at will. There's so many lies in those places.
Many lies.
I mean, yeah.
The amount of Christian bookstores, that was like my second home, Yeah. And I think of some of those
parents
now.
set their kids loose in there and put the Christian radio on their radio stations and just say, you know what, just listen and believe and consume at will.
Absolutely.
You don't have to discern. You don't have to learn to do any of that stuff.
Well, and that is what happened to me, because my entire life was nothing secular. I mean, like Disney movies, stuff like that was fun. But like if it was music, anything like that had to be Christian, and it was all so foreign to me once I got into college, seeing these certain things and trying to have conversations with people that I was so unprepared for.
Right.
But then also I built my entire life and career around Christian, like CCM and Christian music.
That category.
And so then when I left, one of the things that made me leave was Trey Pearson when he came out, and seeing the backlash. And I was just done pretty much at that point. Yeah, seeing that, and then me coming out of it and being like, what skills do I have now? Like I can get radio jobs are hard to get anyway. So if it's not Christian, it's going to be pretty competitive. Yeah. And so I was like,
in every industry.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's like my whole identity, it's just gone, and it's like, what do? You just, it's just Travis, like you love to say, I got this suitcase and I just got to start pulling all these things out that other people have packed for me and get rid of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's right.
And I don't know if you meant, I wanted to ask you, Derek, I don't know if you meant for this to come across this way or if you've had anyone else tell you this, but your song, This May Be the Time to Close Your Eyes, feels like such a like fierce and passionate anthem for this generation right now and for like what we're fighting for. And I don't know if you meant for it to be that way, but like, that is what I've gotten out of it. And it's just beautiful. And I was just curious if you had any other stories or anything.
Well, what's so a song like that, it was one of the last records, if not, or last songs, if not the last song that I wrote for the record. And I usually, I'm old, as I said. And so, and I'm used to like albums. Like I like the album format. Like I'm selfish that way. I mean, if I'm not super interested in, saying a thing that I can say in 3 or 4 minutes, like I need a good 45 minutes or an hour, so when I put an album out, I'm not saying 10 things. I'm saying one thing 10 ways,
Exactly.
And, because all the good stuff is in the details and the nuance and the complication of it. And so anyways, I usually know when I write my closer for like an album, and I usually know when I write my opener and my closer. The things in between can be negotiable, but opening and closing, I usually know. And with that song, actually, it's interesting. So when I first started the process of trying to write the record, and it all happened, as I said, really fast. But the first thing I did was I realized, as I said when we first started, like, this is not inherently my fight. And I am not a leader in this space, nor could I be. I have to take the lead from and follow the leadership of and the guidance of my friends, my queer and trans friends in the community and my family. And these are the people who I need to take my cues from and listen to. And so the first thing I did when I decided I wanted to try to make this album is I fired out like 24 texts in every direction to queer and trans friends, especially creatives and writers, and just to basically say, this is what I think I'm going to do. Help. Is this a terrible idea? Do you think it's okay that I do this? And also, could you possibly, to help me along, answer me this one question? And what it was is, if you could sit with yourself, with your adolescent or young teenage self, and you could sit across from that kid and hold them by the shoulders and look them in the face and say something to them briefly that could help to keep them alive in something like 2025 in this
Yep.
environment, something that would help.
Mhm.
What possibly could those words in that language be? What could you say?
Yeah.
And would you be willing to share that with me? And I got so much great feedback and just incredible, beautiful stuff from so many of my friends. And this may be the time to close your eyes actually came from my friend Ricky Brady, who lives here in Nashville, is a tremendous singer and the music director at Grace Point Church here in town.
Okay.
Great church and great friends of mine. Ricky's one of my dearest friends. And Ricky sent a bunch of amazing stuff. But one of the things he sent me was, and I thought it just struck me because I thought it was so like a tender and kind thing to say and just a thoughtful thing to say to his young self. He said that, yes, we need to fight. Yes, we need to resist. Yes, we need to show up and we need to take up space. And yes, we need to all the stuff that we need to do. Yes. But when it all gets to be too much and overwhelming, it is okay to close your eyes.
Yeah.
It's okay to close your eyes. You have to take care of yourself, and you have to like care for yourself. And
yes. Yeah.
And I just thought that was such a sweet thing. And so I was looking for my closing song and I read that thing that he had sent me and I just started writing. I was like, well, like what would be examples of things that might cause you to need to close your eyes? Like what could be like the things that we just see every day? And I kind of started thinking through all the different things and I could just writing. And at the end of every stanza, I would be like, this may be the time to close your eyes. Like this would be okay, for you to. And then it's like what kind of kicked in, and maybe this is what you're talking about.
I think it is. Yeah.
Your very kind description is like, I kind of have a bit of a background in hymns and in hymn writing. And like I was for many years part of this thing that has happened in the Presbyterian Church, the PCA. Indelible Grace is the name of this thing. And it's like kind of the rewriting of old hymns and things like that. And I've been very interested in old hymns for a long time. I mean, the Presbyterians don't have a copyright on that. Those are available to everybody. And anyway, so but I'm very familiar with. I mean, She Must and Shall Go Free, my first solo album. That title track is a William Gadsby hymn that I just wrote a new tune for. And I've done that a handful of times in my career. And I love the language of the old hymns. And I love the way they're written and the way they're constructed. And as I was writing it, I also love Bob Dylan, who does write like he writes like he's writing in a hymnal. His music. And and by the time I got to the end of that song, I just thought, okay, well, now though, maybe what could be some things that might be worth opening your eyes to?
Exactly.
What could be, and so I had written 3 verses about the things you want to close your eyes to. And then I wrote one verse that was a 3-way compound verse, a triple length one verse that kind of broke the rest of it even to say like, these are the things though, however, that are also true. And you have to hold together and might help inspire you to be willing to open your eyes and it did kind of come out a little bit. And I didn't realize it till I was performing it in those few days that I recorded the album when I'd recorded the guitar part and I went to kind of sing it down for the first time. And I was even surprised. I had just written these songs. I had not performed any of them. Some of them I had not even sang all the way through out loud once before I was literally hitting record and recording them for the first time.
Wow.
And I think that must've been one of them. It was the last one I wrote. And so I remember I was at a friend's Airbnb on the other side of Nashville where I took a little recording gear and recorded the new album over a few days. And I was sitting there in this empty house one afternoon and I'd recorded the guitar part and I was like, had the lyrics in front of me. And I was singing it down. And I remember getting to that last verse. And while I was singing it, there's a point where in the last part of that verse, there's kind of a call and response that is very hymn-like that says a line and it says like, let this be the day. And then, let this be the night and like, it's kind of like, yes, Lord, let it be so. Amen. Like it kind of and as I would say the line and I'd written in, these like, may this be the day. And as I was singing it, I was weird. It was like, I hadn't felt this feeling probably since I had been in church singing hymns, singing a line and then singing, let this be the day. And I was singing a line and singing, let this be the night.
Yep.
And this weird, I kind of got caught up in it. And I think you can hear it in that vocal.
You can.
Because I was feeling it absolutely in that moment.
Because that last verse, especially when you are talking about, the invisible people and the invisible voices.
Yeah.
And you do the way I can hear it in your voice. You're right.
I was surprised by it too,
I love that because it's like, that's what that's what made me think that probably and
Yeah.
gave it that vibe. And it's funny because it's exactly, I almost feel like that song was written like from exactly like what I needed, because
Yeah.
I was getting to a point where, just everything in the world is getting so bad, and just
Yeah.
with politics and wars and just everything.
I know.
And my mom kept telling me, she was like, you need to stay off everything. I can see it in your mental health, and you need to stay
Yeah.
off of everything.
Yeah.
And so I finally listened and I got off for a little bit,
Oh, good. Yeah.
But then as I came back, I had more of a fight in me versus this is just breaking my heart and I just want to cry all the time. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, and I was
Yeah, sometimes you have to close your eyes for a bit so that you
too,
can
and so it felt so personal. It was like,
Yeah.
I felt just like that. I've had to close my eyes for this period of time.
Yeah.
And now it's time to open them and to fully, I want to be that too. And that ally march
Yeah,
behind.
and you know what it makes me think of, and it kind of goes back to maybe Travis's first question, and I'm coming now to maybe an answer to it, is
Mhm.
like the thing that's interesting about doing a job like this for a really long time, and is that I am now remembering that there have been just a handful of people, mostly on social media, who have sent me messages and said that there is something for them, that they spent maybe time growing up listening to our band, and then
Yep.
maybe in their early younger life, listened to maybe some of my records, and then kind of broke off for a long time, maybe went through what we call a deconstruction or whatever
Yep.
it may be, or maybe they went through a break in their family over their gender identity or sexuality, or whatever it is, I don't know, but I fell off the radar for them, rightfully, because they needed to be disconnected from all that, detached from it. And then they had found their way somehow back to my stuff with this new record. Somebody
Literally,
passed it to me. And something about, and what they said to me, and this is really meant more than anything, and there's only one way this could happen, and it's for exactly what has occurred in the sequence that it has occurred in my life to have happened, and is the only way that this is possible. And it's meant a lot when people have said it. And it is that there's something for them that has been really deeply healing, to hear the same voice that was singing these songs, now part of a life that they really is triggering, and is that they've really had to work hard to detach from and grow and heal from. That my voice, and the same voice that they heard saying some of those things, is now saying these things to them.
Yep.
And what a weirdo impact that was having on
But
them.
it's so true
To hear me saying it for whatever reason, because it's my voice or whatever, weirdly. And that would be, and the only way that's possible is for me to have done what I have done for a lot of years, and to now be doing what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
And to have just done it all this time is like, when I first heard that, it was just mind blowing to me, obviously, because I was like, I can't imagine how strange that feels, but how I'm just so glad that something about me and my voice was connected to something really painful and really triggering for so long. And now to hear that same voice or whatever saying these things that are very affirming and very
absolutely
is helpful in some way. And that has meant the world to me. That makes it all worth it to hear that. And I've heard it from a handful of people now, and it's been the highest compliment that I could receive.
Well, I mean, it's true for me. If I really am thinking about it, I used to have my little, cassette player, and I would pop my headphones on. And I can remember sitting in my room listening to Caedmon's Call and playing my Sega, and like,
incredible.
that's what I was doing.
Boy, that's a sweet memory right there.
Yeah. And so then it's true when you come back, and then when I was in radio, some of your first like solo albums, I was in radio then. And so we were playing you and stuff. And then, so then when I broke away, I just, from everything for a while. And then I came back and I found, I think it was your song with Flamey Grant. That's what I think maybe.
Yeah.
I can't remember, but
so we were on each other's records, and so I was on Bible Belt Baby, which was Flamey's record. We did a song called Good Day together, which was such a beautiful song.
Actually, the one, That brought me back.
And then Flamey did a duet with me on Jesus Hypothesis on Boys Will Be Girls.
Yes.
So we
Yes.
both duetted on each other's records that year.
I love it. I love it. Keep doing it because I
Good
just love
Day
it.
is such a good song, and that we ended the End of Days tour that we did together every night with that song.
Oh,
And it was like it feels like one of those same things where it's like it feels like something you would have sang in church, but
yeah,
it's about
it does. It does.
like safely leaving, safely coming back, but being safe and taking care of yourself and finding safe people. And
Absolutely. And it's funny because Travis, I've told him this, and I think I've told this story before on here, but I actually had a very spiritual moment. It's the first one I'd had since I don't even know how long. And it was while I was cutting the grass. And Flamey Grant, Good Day was playing. Something took over. I was weeping. I had to like just pull over and just stop. And it was just like it, because I'd heard the song like 100 times. I don't know what it was specifically about this moment, but just hearing that, like, yeah, no, I'm gonna be in the front row. Like, you know, I'm coming out of the shadows. Like, this is my spot. I deserve this just as much. You know?
Reclaiming that space or whatever.
Yes, yes. And so yeah, I want y'all to know how much you truly are.
Well,
The invisibles are hearing and finding you, and it's amazing.
Well, it means a lot. I mean, and it's like I don't have delusions of grandeur about it, but it's like the few people. There's not, but a handful of people in the world who are in the very and increasingly narrowing Venn diagram of who my music is for, and who I make any sense to.
Same.
But for those few people, that it could mean something that could be healing for them is everything. And I know that's what motivates Flamey too, you know, is representation in that way, and also holding space where folks can gather and occupy where they've previously been told that they don't belong.
Yeah.
It was the same reason that we showed up at the Dove Awards, is because like that is space that we deserved and that Grace and Flamey deserved to be
absolutely
in. Because they were they and we, you know, are contributing music and content that is for the Christian community. I mean,
you are.
My record at that time. If the Jesus Hypothesis is not for a Christian audience, I don't know who it's for. There's a song on it about literally called "Sympathy for Paul" about
that's my favorite one, actually. I know.
The point being though, like, who else could that? Where else do I market that but to Christians? So it's, you know,
everybody like,
Baby and Preacher's Kid and like all these great records. And it's like, you know, we belong here. You don't get to tell us that we can't be here just because we don't fit into the stereotypes that you've decided are the only people who are allowed to contribute here. That's that's not so. Like, we absolutely deserve to be here, and we will show up here. And that will be a demonstration that other people who identify in any way with any of us also can belong here and can show up here.
Yes, exactly.
And that's why it's important.
It is so important. And one last thing before I let you go, because I know we're running a little over. Cheryl did want me to ask you if you had any good recommendations for books or podcasts or any kind of artist that may have some like insight into how we can have conversations with, like, my dad, for example, where he actually hears what I'm saying versus just screaming kind of over me, because we are starting to feel like it's like even love at this point. I'm trying to come to you in love. That is not working, you know, so.
Right. Yep. I hear that. And I think like, I could talk all day about all my friends who do good work and who I love and who I would love to promote, but to specifically answer your question, I think the quickest thing that I could say that it would be the most helpful if folks, just because it's kind of a one-stop shop that does represent a lot of voices and an increasingly diverse set of voices, and that is the New Evangelicals.
Oh yeah, we had Tim on.
He's fantastic. He's a good pal.
Amazing. I know. And I'm gonna have Melinda. I'm having her on too. Yeah, she's coming on soon. So
they represent and center and amplify a lot of diverse voices. And what I like about what they're doing, there's a lot of people, a lot of friends who do a lot of great work. But what I like about what New Evangelicals is doing is they are remaining in the space, and they are continuing to call themselves by the name Christian and say, we are taking some of this space back, and we are saying, yes, we do belong here, although we don't think along these same ways about these things that have become weirdly the modern Western American creeds that if you don't recite in unison, you don't belong. Kind of
Yeah,
thing.
exactly.
You know, the minimum required beliefs to belong here, which now includes party, and it includes a lot of things. And so it's like, you know, I like that they remain in that space and they continue to claim that space for themselves, as opposed to friends who I think are doing equally as good a work, but are like in more progressive spaces or out of church spaces, out of
completely out of it
spaces. I always appreciate my friends who are doing work, pushing back in important ways, but are remaining in the Christian spaces, as opposed to saying, we're going to get out of it.
Yeah.
We're going to do from over here. That sometimes that is what you have to do. And sometimes you can do better work, unique work that way. But when you're talking about how do we talk to our friends and our family who are still in evangelical spaces and who care about that language and who care about all those values and that sort of thing, I think New Evangelicals is a great one-stop shop for that.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I would agree with that. I think they're really like respectful, but also at the same time, you know,
well, they care.
Yeah.
Like they care about the space because they do still identify.
So
Tim still
much.
identifies that way, and many of the folks who they gather there do. But they also bring in a lot of voices that don't remotely identify that way.
Absolutely. That's what I love.
And the insights are coming from everywhere, and they're afraid of speaking to no one. And so
I love that. That's what I want to eventually get to, because I'm the same. Like Macklemore says,
I love Macklemore.
No matter what God you believe in, we all come from the same one. So,
yes, right.
Right.
You know. I don't think there's a big cosmic battle like the Greeks believed. Like, I don't think there's a bunch of gods up there duking it out. And that's when the thunderstorms happen. I mean, I think if there is a creative, benevolent energy happening, it's resonating under all of us. And it's just a matter of us figuring out, and we all might call it different things. I'm not trying to be new agey, but I really am to the point where I'm like, I think we've made a lot of stuff up to try and name it.
Yeah.
And then we make up a lot of extra stuff that tends to favor whoever we are and whatever we're like. And that's why evangelical Christianity tends to really favor, men, white men, although I guess, it was not written by white men, but it was written, but a lot of the way the Bible is put together and maintained over many years was done inside of empire, and it was done by kings, and it was done by, so it's like, dominant conquerors more than the conquered in many cases. And it's important to have the voices of the conquered. That's the thing Howard Zinn always talks about with history, is told from the perspective of the conquerors. History books are written by the conquerors from the perspective of the conquered.
Yeah, I never thought about that. That's very
good and important and righteous. Of course it was from the perspective of the conquerors.
Yeah.
But what about the voices of the conquered? It's a thing that we do really poorly also here in America.
Exactly.
And so, and anyways, so it's like that's what we tend to do when it comes to our, the way we talk about and frame up religion. But I agree with you and Macklemore on that, I think,
yes.
And I think that's why the energy that comes out of benevolence and radical welcome and patience and kindness, and that's the energy that I'm looking for. And I see it spiking in a lot of spots, and that's where I'm moving towards, and that's what I'm interested in.
Same.
And I do still see it in evangelical Christianity sometimes, and I'm looking for it there too, just like everybody else.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing too. I'm trying to find it as much as I can. Yep. Oh my gosh, Derek, thank you so much. You've been amazing.
Thank you so much.
Enjoyed this. Yes,
what a pleasure.
We'd love
to
have
talk to y'all. Absolutely.
That was great.
It's fantastic, and thank you both for allowing me to be here today too.
Thank you, Travis.
Thank you.
Let's do it again sometime.
I would love that.
Anytime. Yes, we definitely want to have you back on. I'd love to get you and Flamey together sometime.
Let's do it.
All right.
You don't got to ask us twice to show up somewhere together. My God.
I love y'all.
We just
I know.
One thing we may want to mention before we go though is, are you currently on tour, Derek? Is that?
Oh yeah, I am. And I kind of always am. I'm in my 50s, and so I don't tour like I did when I was a young man, where you leave for months. I'm a weekend warrior at this point, but I'm always playing shows, and I am currently on the Survival Songs tour, which, like almost all my tours, is a house show tour. They're not all in houses, but they're all in unconventional spaces, and they're small, they're intimate, no PA. It's just me and about 40, 50 folks in a space somewhere, and I'm singing the songs. And so DerekWebb.com, DerekWebb, you can see the dates, you can grab tickets or whatever and come out. I hope you will. Yeah.
Thanks. Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm coming.
Yeah.
My mom or my husband. We're not sure
Rad.
yet. We're seeing which one can go.
Yeah.
Or with Travis. It might be Travis. I don't
Oh,
know.
yeah. More. That's all. Let's do it. Let's
Okay.
all do it.
Let's do it. I would love for us all to be together.
I know,
Yeah,
it'd be
fun.
great.
Love it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we will hopefully talk to you soon.
Yes.
I'll definitely see you on August 8th. But yes, I
Well,
hope
thank you so
that
much again for having me. Super appreciate it.
Oh gosh. Thank you.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
of course. Anytime. And yeah. Oh, and tell people, is there anywhere else you want to put your hands, like your Twitter, your Instagram,
I'm
or
just
X?
at,
whatever
yeah,
you-
I'm just at Derek Webb everywhere.
Perfect.
DerekWebb. And so
Perfect.
wherever
And
you
I'll
go
put 'em-
looking, that
put 'em
hopefully
in
is
the
where you'll
thing.
find me. Yeah.
Wonderful. I'll put everything in the show notes also that way.
Perfect.
Easy to find. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Derek.
All right.
for
Yeah.
real.
Great to talk
Thank
to
you,
y'all.
guys.
Thank
Good talk to
you.
you.
Bye.
Bye bye.